Hey everybody, let's talk about recording video. So there's a couple of things to know. And the first thing is, have some fun with it. We're not driving an ambulance here. And yes, we can feel a little awkward sometimes while we're presenting, but if we're having a good time, the odds are we'll come across relaxed and our audience will have a good time. So we're gonna talk about 3 best practices in this video. The first one is warming up, like your body and your voice. The next one is centering yourself in the video. And then finally, we're gonna talk about using note cards and visual aids. So first thing, warming up. We have to warm up our body. Our bodies and our minds are connected. The idea that they are separate things is not true. So I usually move my arms around, do whatever. Maybe I'll do some head rolls. Ooh, on some days when I'm really having some stress, I can hear pop, 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 crack. One great way to warm up your neck is to just use 2 hands and very gently push your chin in. Just use 2 fingers here, not 2 hands, and hold it for 10 seconds. And then gently move your head to the other side. Cold necks don't like to get whipped around. And gently push. We retain most of our stress in this area, in our hands and in our feet. So we try to move and warm up those parts of our body as much as we can. And an interesting fun tip, if you do have the luxury of recording your speech by video, it helps if you brush your teeth beforehand. It helps with that dry mouth so you don't get that real cotton feeling in your mouth while you're presenting. Why? I don't know. I'm not a dentist, but it works. So next, let's talk about centering yourself in the video. So there's a couple best practices, a couple do's and a couple don'ts, right? Things you do want to do. You want to take up the majority of your frame. It's really best if there's maybe 10%, maybe 5% difference between the top of your head and the top of the video. Now, if you're a little down here, no big deal. If you're way up here, probably not a good idea. If you're over here, you get the idea. You want to be in the middle, right? We record standing because that's how we're going to present when we're at work and when we're in social situations. We want to have the camera far enough away that people can tell we are standing, and we're free to move our hands and move our bodies just a little bit, right? So that's how we center the self. And a bit about lighting. Do your best. I'm purposefully shooting this video against a blank wall in my house. You can see a little shadow. Yeah, okay, no big deal. We're not trying to shoot Hollywood video over here. We're just trying to have a well-lit environment in which we can see our face and our body, or our face isn't all half shadowed, right? Do your best, play around with it for a little bit. You'll find what works for you in your environment. And so lastly, let's talk about note cards and visual aids. So note cards. Note cards are super important. I typically have one for each point. And my best way of doing this is you have 1 point for each note card. And your note cards should have very little text on them. If they have a ton of text on them, what winds up happening is you read your note card. We just can't seem to get around it. So today we are going to talk about warming up. We are going to talk about centering the video. And it feels that way as you're presenting, and it comes across that way to your audience, right? So we have minimal text on a note card. I write really big with a Sharpie. And when I'm practicing, I don't usually practice my speech all at once. I take my note cards, I stick them in my back pocket, and I just go about my day, hopefully for a couple days. And when I have 30 seconds, I'll break out my note cards. Oh, point 2. Okay, point 2. I'm going to talk about centering the video. I'm going to talk about myself, and I'm going to talk about the lighting. Okay, and I'll flip it so that another note card is available. Stick it back in my pocket. Next time I'm waiting for an elevator. Oh, conclusion. Don't forget the conclusion. Don't forget the conclusion. We talked about this, we talked about that, we talked about this. Flip it, stick it back in your pocket. Go about your day. Things like speeches and studying for an exam, they tend to go best when you do a little bit at a time versus trying to cram it all in at once. You've heard it a million times before. We all know this information, though we often procrastinate and don't do it. But in an environment like public speaking, whether you're doing it like in front of people live or on video, it's especially important that you feel comfortable. And if you know your material without having to use your note cards too much, then you will feel comfortable. You can just concentrate on what you're saying and have a little fun with it. Make a little joke. It doesn't matter, right? It's just something that we're doing so that we can grow and learn. And speaking of growing and learning, let's talk about growing and learning using visual aids. So say I'm making a speech about sunblock, and I have my sunblock right here. I got Coppertone 70, a little bit of reflection on it. Apologize for that. Like I said, your lighting doesn't have to be perfect. So you can see I'm holding it up near my head, somewhat like a person on a game show. Ooh, look at this fabulous product, right? I'm not holding it here in front of my head. See everybody, right? It's like, hey, this is my stuff. Don't get a sunburn, right? We're going to use a visual aid. Use it, and use it as an actual aid. I chose this one because I love getting out in the sun. I have a bit of a receding hairline here, as you can see. So that part of my head is probably susceptible. Part of my head is susceptible to skin cancer. So I use SPF 70. And you notice when I wanted to show you a detail about it, I held it close enough to the camera that I can show you, right? I did the same thing with my note cards. And this tactic works just the same when we're presenting live in front of an audience of like 30 people. If I have something like my sunblock, I'll hold it up. I'll hold it for all the audience to see while I'm talking about it. I might walk back and forth so that the people over here can see it. I might make sure that the people over here can see it, right? One of the things we really try to avoid when we're speaking in front of a live audience is passing our items around. If I'm doing a speech and my visual aid are some pictures, maybe some pictures of this awesome vacation we had just camping one time, and I have 3 pictures, it's best not to circulate those pictures. Everyone in the audience is generally going to be distracted thinking, when do I get to look at the pictures? When do I get to look at the pictures? And not hearing about the super fun you had singing songs and trying to figure out how to light a campfire in the dark, right? So when we use a visual aid, we make it so that everybody can see it. It assists our speech, right? Making a speech about sunblock and having a heavy-duty sunblock assists the information I'm going to present, and we make sure that it is near our face in some fashion. Whatever works for you. So that's what we have for today, and with our best practices for recording a speech. Keep in mind, we talked about warming up your body and your neck. I gave you a quick tip on brushing your teeth. We talked about centering yourself in the picture so that the majority of you can be seen, or at least the majority of the top half of you can be seen. We talked about being an adequate distance away from the camera, not doing FaceTime with someone. And we talked about working with visual aids. We talked about the difference between having note cards that are written large and having note cards with a tiny bit of text on them. And we talked about using a visual aid so that it can benefit your speech. That's all we have for today. Thanks for your time.